If you're looking to buy a sailboat right now and you have sort of a list of manufacturers that you're looking at, this name better be on it. Wait, I'm sorry, we're gonna build boats out of fiberglass? What the heck is fiberglass? Many of the boats we're going to talk about today were designed by legendary designers to literally go anywhere in the world in comfort, safety, speed, and style. This week on Everything You Need to Know, we're talking about Pearson. This week's episode is brought to you by patrons. These are people that give a couple of bucks an episode to keep this YouTube channel growing and going. So thank you guys so much for the patrons that we have. And if you're interested in helping out, check out patreon.com/LadyKSailing. In the 1950s, owning a sailboat was really hard work. I mean, they were made out of wood. And when you launched the boat for the first time in the season, you had to wait weeks for the wood to swell up to seal all the holes in the boat, and the whole time you were bailing water. It's constant maintenance. The upkeep was astronomical. You're always poking at the wood, looking for rot, sealing, polishing, caulking. Wooden boats, while all very, very beautiful, were a lot of work. In the late 1950s, sailboat manufacturers were getting on board with the fiberglass revolution. Fiberglass wasn't all that well understood at the time, so the early boat manufacturers tended to err on the side of caution and lay the fiberglass hulls up extremely thick, way thicker than needed. This made for some ridiculously strong boats. Nowadays, as we understand fiberglass more and boats are made thinner and lighter, so, don't hit anything. Manufacturers of boats in the 1950s were at the forefront of this new technology and really made sailboats what they are today by exploring this fiberglass witchcraft and making a whole new generation of boats, the boats that we buy now. They were cheaper to make and they basically last forever. So that's important to understand. If you're looking to buy a sailboat right now, particularly a little bit older used boat, fiberglass really does last a long time. The year of the boat is a lot less relevant than, say, the year of a car, if you're car shopping. My boat, for example, is a 1980, but the engine is a 2014, and the sails are much newer. An older boat may need attention, but that attention is far more likely to be things that are easier to change, like the rig and the engine and the sails, than it is to actually need attention on the physical boat. The same hull can live on for 100 years as long as the core is sound, that's the core in the deck, and the engine, rig, and sails and anything else that unbolts is replaced when it needs to be replaced. This is sort of where we come to Pearson. The Pearson cousins were there, right at the right place at the right time. Everett and Clinton Pearson were building sailing dinghies in their garage. The Pearson cousins were approached by two men we talked about in our last video. The first man was Tom Potter. He was a yacht broker. The second man was Carl Alberg, who is probably the most prolific yacht designer of the 20th century. They asked the Pearson brothers to build something very specific, a 28-foot racer cruiser sailboat with standing headroom and room for a family of 4 to sleep inside. Not only that, but it had to be sold new for less than 10 grand. Alberg had already designed the boat that they wanted, this miraculous 28-footer, and the Pearson cousins actually agreed to build it, or at least try to build it, again, in their garage. And they actually did. They built one of these things. When this one prototype was done, the group decided to try and sell it at the New York Boat Show. But the garage where they built it and the boat itself was in Rhode Island, and the boat show, of course, was in New York. The Pearson brothers, broke at the time, borrowed some money to pay to ship the boat to the boat show and basically risked everything. The boat show was really do or die for Tom Potter, the yacht broker, Carl Alberg, the later to be legendary designer, but this was his first really important design, and of course the Pearson cousins, Everett and Clinton, who built the thing. They absolutely had to sell a couple of boats at this boat show, or all would be lost for everybody involved. But sometimes dreams do come true, and it did actually pay off. 17 boats were ordered at the boat show on the spot. The prototype at that point was dubbed the Pearson Triton. On top of the 17 boats that were ordered, a company in France paid for the rights to build 60 of their own, and a company in California paid for the rights to build 150 more. So, a lot of success. Everett and Clinton went home after the boat show to try and figure out how to build 17 more of this boat, this prototype, that were good enough to actually sell. I mean, the first one was a prototype after all. And their garage, where they had built it and built their sailing dinghies previous, wasn't big enough anymore. So they really needed cash, a lot of cash, and they needed it bad. They needed investors. So they had to go from guys who built sailing dinghies in their garage to businessmen. What they did was they took the company public, and they did make a ton of cash doing that, enough to buy an old Harrishoff facility in Rhode Island, and they started making boats. After they made the first 17 boats that were ordered at the boat show, they needed new designs. So again, they called on Carl Alberg. With everything now sort of moving forward, the Pearson cousins wanted to grow the company. So they tried what they tried the first time, another public offering on the company, but this time they were turned down, even though they were actually turning out a boat a day by this point. Pearson went on to catch national attention and was bought out in 1961 by Grumman Allied. And shortly thereafter, the Pearson cousins, Everett and Clinton, cashed out and left the company entirely. Clinton Pearson took his cash from the company and bought a different boat company, Sailstar, and changed that company's name to Bristol Yachts. You've probably heard of Bristol. The other cousin, Everett Pearson, took his cash from the company and joined with another man named Neil Tillotson to form a new company entirely that made composite products like windmill blades and other things, including J-boats. If you've never heard of J-boats, you've never been sailboat racing. The Pearson Yachts Company built everything from sailing dinghies to the Pearson 530, a 53-foot center cockpit. In 1986, Grumman sold the Pearson brand to a company called Gordon Clayton, which is actually a man, but also a company. And Gordon Clayton already owned a few brands that you may have heard of: Laser, Sunfish, O'Day, as well as some others. Pearson boats, however, didn't really fit into a mold, if you will, pun intended. They've been full keel, they've been fin keel, they've been everything in between, but they've always been known for quality and to be a damn good boat. You'd be hard-pressed to find a Pearson owner who says the boat was underbuilt or of low quality. My personal experience with Pearson brand is a little bit short, but kind of inspiring for me. I've obviously always loved any Carl Alberg design. If you watched the last episode, that's my hero boat, my holy grail. It really is. And I've sailed on a few Pearsons in my time. My friend Nathan in Florida actually has one, a Pearson 41, and it is a remarkable boat. It's interesting in the way it's set up, and a lot of Pearsons are like this, quite interesting boats. His has two companionways, the normal one, and then there's one forward by the mast. And it's sort of two entrances, and the cabin inside can be split into two with a door in the middle, making sort of a two-bedroom apartment. The galley and everything are in the middle, and then there's sort of two living areas. It's convenient if you have two couples sailing, or maybe one couple and some kids, and you'd like to have sort of two different residences for some privacy. Big, heavy, fast boat, however. Very well built, and Nathan loves it. Pearson is, for me, a brand that is sort of quintessential to the cruising boat. I mean, maybe it's not the best one, but it's definitely not the worst one, but it is one that you have to mention when you're talking about cruising boats. They're old and classic as far as their design. They're strong and sturdy as far as their quality. They tend to be roomy and well built. If you're shopping for a boat right now, really, I don't care what it is, Pearson should be on the list. If you wanted a weekend sailor, if that's what you're after, You should look at like the Pearson 26 through 30. These are very roomy for the size of boat that they are. I mean, lots of room to sleep. You can have a few guests over. They perform quite well. A lot of them tend to be fast, and they're just very well made. They're typically sloop rigged, aft cockpit, very traditional. So weekend sailor, they can be had for less than $7,000 for a really good one. The 30 to 40 footers are interesting because you can find a racer with a deep fin keel or a long-term cruiser with a full keel. And you can also find a full keel with a swing board that drops down out of the bottom of the full keel if you'd like to go cruising and still be able to have some upwind pointability. The 30 to 40 footers in the Pearson world are sort of the bread and butter. These are just fantastic boats. So whether you want a ketch or a cutter or maybe an open-hulled day sailor, a center cockpit maybe that you can sail around the world, it doesn't really matter what you're looking for. Pearson probably makes something that will tick all the checkboxes on your shopping list, and it'll be well built, and it'll have good support on the internet and good forums and lots of people sharing information about it, and it probably won't break the bank. Pearson isn't known to be extravagant in their cost. It also won't break when you push it beyond your skill level. And I actually know this because I've done it on a Pearson. Really, it's an all-around, exceptionally good brand that would fit on any shopping list for almost anything you want in a boat. Definitely check out Pearson. Guys, we are almost at 20,000 subscribers. If you saw my Ask Me Anything announcement video, it was a couple videos ago, when we, and that's us, we're almost at 20,000 subscribers. When we hit it, because I certainly couldn't have done it without you guys, when we hit it, we're going to do an Ask Me Anything episode where you guys can ask anything you want, and you're going to get an answer from me, whether it's a good answer or a bad answer, I don't know. But check out the AMA video a couple videos ago. Anything you put in the comments there, I'm going to be reviewing as soon as we hit 20,000, and that episode right after the 20,000 mark will be all of those questions, and I'll answer them to the best of my abilities. And yeah, if you guys like the video, hit subscribe, give me a little thumbs up here and there, and I will see you guys next week.